Hey, so today I have a philosophical Wednesday about the software engineering. And the last time we had a discussion about the full stack developers and actually the question if the full stacks exist and could the generalist overperform the narrow expert and all other things. And it's still the open questions. And we talk about this another thing or another type of people that usually grow from the generalist, the barefoot experts. Yeah, the people that change the area, jump to something new, build the expertise, and actually became the expert in this field. And I really believe that it's really valuable people. It's not always possible for sure. But some domains really require the years of education, and for example, the machine learning and all other things. Maybe it's not so straightforward as we think, but it's possible. And it's open discussion. I don't have the answers and for these particular questions, but another quite interesting observation over the 20 uh, or 23 years of my career that sometimes, especially I came from the Ukrainian big outsourcing business, and I start, at 2002, or I found the first big company in 2004. So it was the time when we still had the people that have the computer science in the university. And for example, I need to convince, and if you follow me long enough, you know that my master degree is this engineering, right? So I'm building more hardware, the processors, system on chips, and all the things. So I'm not the true developer on my master degree. And what I observed a lot that quite often I get really bright minds and cool engineers that came from completely different domain. They came from completely different domain and they bring something that regular developers with the computer science degree never had. They bring the knowledge about their previous domain, and they usually bring the knowledge about something closer to the physical world. What I mean that, maybe you have seen this picture of comics of the arguments that, we have the mathematics and we have the physics that just applied mathematics, and we have the chemistry that just applied the physics, and this chain continue, from the mathematics to the physics, then to the chemistry, biology, medicine, psychology, and we finish with the social science that are the most complex one. And the more we move on this scale from far left, like mathematics, to the far right, like the social studies, the more we have the connection to the physical world. Yeah, and these people that came from the domain that's more connected to the things how the real world operate, the more better developers they were. Yeah, so they bring the patterns of the real world, because quite often we have the people that finish the computer science and they see everywhere computer science things. Yeah, like stacks, the design patterns, and all other things. And it's a good thing, actually. We all need to know about it. But sometimes we build imaginary castles that doesn't exist in the real world. And we need to ground ourselves to something that exists. Yeah, so and these people that switch the domain from, for example, biology or chemistry to software development because they need to learn Python to make their master degree, and in some point they jump, for example, to the knowledge graph. I see a lot of bright ontologists and knowledge engineers that came from the medical domain, or they came from the biology or chemistry. It's the brightest mind mm, uh, in a domain, actually. So I really believe in a diversity of the mindsets. I always avoid the diversity and inclusivity topic because it's too sensitive, and people sometimes misinterpret my point of view. But I really vote heavily for the diversity of the mindsets. And in this case, getting the people on board that spend some time in non-software engineering domain that connected to something more physical, and maybe they connected to the domain where your software actually operate. It's the best ever investment. Yeah, because they bring some cool patterns that maybe miss it in a team, and they could do a lot. For example, one of the brightest developers that I ever met was the psychiatrist, and he really deeply understand the code that was outsourced from some far Indian teams and all of the things, and he never had the problem to work with it and all of this stuff. I had the brightest architect ever in Ukraine that actually was the musician in education, and he had the special theory about the software engineering and music and all of the things. And yeah, I just believe that somehow I believe more in some hybrid education where you have the computer science together with something, because at the end you will go and apply this computer science knowledge in some particular domain. So and maybe it's make the much better choice for the education to get the people that know how to build the software, but that knows how to build the software for some industries. Yeah, and you see right now that artificial intelligence is changing our landscapes. Now your debugging doc could provide you more context, answer some questions, ask some questions, explain you the code and all of the things. So the process of the writing the code, shifting more and more to the artificial intelligence tools, and what we have in hands just to validate how this code actually fit our needs, and if it's cover actually our domain. So we will shift more to the domain experts than the software developers, and it's our future, I believe. That's why it makes sense to invest in education more, to some physical world understanding, to self understanding, maybe also. But we have this terminology that I really don't like. That in Ukraine we call the people that change the domain from something completely different to IT the switchers, because they switch to the IT. And yeah, and I really see that the teams of diverse mindsets, that people who came from completely different domains and start doing the engineering together with the mentorship of the engineer that could integrate them together and maybe teach them a bit how the software engineering process look like and what's the best practices and so on, could go much further than the people that just graduate the college with the super cool computer science stuff, and they could go to the lead code and solve all these complex puzzles with the high score. And usually when I working with these talented guys that obsessed with the lead code, I open my code base and I see the lead code there, and do we really needs to have the lead code like code in production systems? It's a big question. Or sometimes I see that people read the design patterns book and they see the design patterns everywhere, and then you have the name of the design patterns in the class names, and it's really make me cry. That's why I really believe on the people that change the domains, bring some knowledge about the physical world, and bring some patterns. And actually, in this case, the full stack developer have a bit more value than the classical backender because he knows the different patterns from two different worlds, and he knows how to apply them, or he making the fusion of them and might be take the best. Sometimes they take the worst, but it's already the topic for another philosophical Wednesday. So I believe that taking somebody from the some physical domain and making him the domain expert, and then teach them a bit to code and help them to get to your dark side. Sometimes it's the best idea ever that you could have in a company. So that's all that I was keen to share with you, and I keen to get some feedback about this. And do you like our philosophical Wednesdays, or you want to hear more about the concrete architecture, or you want to hear more maybe about the knowledge graphs and all of the things? It's really important. So, thank you for your time. Cheers.